road to WrestleMania, taking a detour then through Australia. And we've got two guests with us here today. One that I know is going to be very happy indeed. The fact he's actually gets to see this in the morning time rather than actually being up in the early hours of the morning. He's a regular on the channel. One that you know, Mr. NXSteve in the house. Welcome. And our second guest today is someone who's going to cosplay a European fan this Saturday for one night only, or one morning only, should we say. He will be kicking it with Leo, watching from 4 a.m. Leo, we're going to start with you. How's it going to feel to actually watch a PLE the same way a European has to every single month?
I mean, I gotta give credit where credit's due because you guys do it literally every week for SmackDown, Raw, AEW, even pay-per-view. So, I mean, it's okay that I do it for one time. I mean, you guys deserve a type of time, this type of year, to at least have a little time to kick back and chill out a little bit.
Absolutely kick back, just like kicking it with Leo as well. That caffeine in Europe is very popular, whether it's espresso coffees, your soft drinks as well. Maybe a Logan Paul Prime, you never know. They're very popular over in this part of the world, especially when it comes to premium live events and wrestling programming. NXSteve, to get you on the channel, obviously, as always, is great. It's Elimination Chamber on the road to WrestleMania. What are your excitement levels for this show between 1 and 10 with the Elimination Chamber this year, being in Perth, Australia?
I mean, it has the potential to be a really good show. I'm not going to say it's going to be blowing us out of the water just for the pure fact that it is on the other side of the planet, and most of the card probably is predictable, but I am really looking forward to it. Absolutely
indeed there. Leo, what would be your excitement levels then between 1 and 10 then here for the Elimination Chamber this year?
I give it a 7. I feel like it's going to be a good show because I feel like, these overseas crowds tend to, give a lot of energy to these shows, and I think honestly this might be a hot take, but I think the UK crowds have better crowds than the American crowds, if we're being honest. Wow. I'll put it out there because they give energy every single time. I'm not saying the American crowds don't, but the UK crowds just have us beat by a mile.
I mean, I'm not going to complain with that comment there. In fact, I might just like capture that and just put it out there for the world and see what they have to say about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with it at all. But you make a really great point. Obviously, Australia's the first time they're having a show since 2018. Super Showdown was the last time they did it back then. I think it was October time. Buddy Murphy, of course, Australian wrestler, winning the Cruiserweight Championship. I think was main evented with Triple H and The Undertaker. This time around, obviously 6 years later, obviously it's going to be in Optus Stadium. I believe about 60,000. I believe we're going to be in attendance, if I'm not mistaken. Perth, Australia. It's going to be a massive deal indeed. Of course, the place they gave us Neighbours, gave us Kylie Minogue. Hey, to be fair, they give us Rhea bloody Ripley. We're not going to complain, are we? But for me, I'm going to say the same as what the guys have said here. This has got potential to be a great show. Elimination Chamber matches are always a lot of fun. Some of my favorite matches, usually in the calendar year, to get excited about. There are WrestleMania stakes on both of them, so I'm looking forward to them. Although I do agree with NXSteve, I feel the show is fairly predictable. Just a personal hunch that I have at this moment. So, yeah, we'll see if that actually comes true when it comes to Saturday and the matches actually happen. But all in all, guys, just before we start then, NXT, we're going to start with the match you're most looking forward to on the show.
The debut of the new Catch Republic, I think. Do you know what I mean? Pete Dunne and, Tyler Bate, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can sit there say chamber matches, but the fact that I'm really hopeful that we get some new tag team champions this weekend. So that's what I'm looking forward to most this week.
What do you think of the tag team name quickly?
I love it. It's, do you know what I mean? It's not the worst name I've ever heard. And it's kind of like, hey, Catch Style Wrestling. I like it. It could be worse. It could be better. But I like it.
I think for me, it's something that it's going to need some time just to sink in before I can really sort of grab onto it like you have there. Leo, which match are you most looking forward to on the show here?
I say the men's just because of how stacked it is with talent. One thing I did point to note out that Drew is the only one representing Raw in this chamber, which was surprising.
It's a quite a bit of surprise indeed, actually, when you look at that lineup there that's involved in the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, also a lot of SmackDown superstars have taken the spots there. And of course, that could mean we could get Raw versus SmackDown for the World Heavyweight Championship come WrestleMania 40. It's a great point you make there, Leo. And to be honest, really, I've got to say it's the match I'm most looking forward to as well, looking at the show there, because like you say, it is a stacked lineup. I think there is potential as well for potential WrestleMania matches being built in amongst this chamber match as well. I am really looking forward to the women's chamber match as well. However, I feel that one is probably more predictable of the two chamber matches, which is why it doesn't take it for me. But that's what we think anyway, going into it before we start off our predictions in a couple of moments' time. But we'll quickly just go into the chat and see what everyone's saying. Roger in house, nice and early, saying good evening, Steve, and obviously to the rest of the chat as well. And Eric Douglas in house very early, saying Liv was spitting last night. Her argument sense heel turn will be phenomenal. You're not the only one sensing a potential heel turn there, Eric. I like you brought it in nice and early. Potentially could be something on the way. We're discussing that later in the show. And Richard, nice and early with a prediction here. It says spoiler, but means prediction. Liv Morgan winning the Elimination Chamber. Although I don't think some of the reasoning could be what will be going down. Roger asking if we're looking forward to the men's or the women's chamber more. And Roger for him was the women's. Well, Liam and I have already said the men's probably just pinches it, just takes it. NXT, which chamber match are you most looking forward to? If you had to pick one of the two.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say the men's as well. I think that the fact that any one of them, but like I think the women's is more predictable than the men's, and I think that's what makes the men's one a bit more exciting.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into the action then and get in our first prediction on the show. But of course, get involved with your predictions as well throughout. And of course, as well as that, also make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. And like I say, share with a friend as well. Let them know that we are here and we'll be talking Elimination Chamber for the next hour or so. So without further ado, then, let's go in with the first match we're going to discuss and where else to start. Let's go for the Women's World Championship match. We've got Rhea Bloody Ripley versus Nia Jax. Of course, Nia Jax returned to WWE last year after she was released from the company. And of course, when she did, she immediately went for Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. And since then, Nia has not been pinned. The only way she's actually suffered a loss is for an elimination in the Royal Rumble to Jade Cargill. She's not been involved in a decision, really. You go with the 5-way from Crown Jewel that she was involved with last year, wasn't the pinned person, which is why she didn't win the championship on that night. But she's not been pinned. She's not been submitted. So she's been an unstoppable force. Booked really well. I would say that she's improved in the ring as well. And Rhea Ripley, let's be fair, she has been, she's been an unstoppable champion, and going into her home country of Australia as well. It's going to be fascinating to see. NXSteve, I have a feeling this one could main event the show. What are your feelings with Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax? Are you looking forward to the match?
It should main event the show, let's be honest. It's not very often we get to see the women do it, and this kind of makes sense with Rhea being the hometown hero. So, yeah, I think it will. For me, it's lock of the night. This is the easiest prediction to make. I am looking forward to it because it's going to be exciting to see how they book Nia losing, because obviously, like you said, she's been undefeated for so long. So that's going to be the interesting part with this match. But as well, you're going to see the biggest baby face in Rhea Ripley, and it's going to be such a flip from what we normally see on telly. So it's going to be so much fun to watch.
I think you could be to a good argument there. The fact that, she's going to be so over with the crowd as well. And I mean, Rhea did say on Raw as well, like the whole of Australia is going to be behind her. That's where Nia will start to crumble, and that's what's going to be her downfall coming to this Saturday. But you mentioned there, obviously, Rhea Ripley going to be like the big pop that she's going to have, cheered like none other. Could Dominic Mysterio be cheered for the first time at ringside, Leo, or is this a case where Judgment Day should stay in the back?
You kind of already been seeing Rhea kind of really hasn't been with Judgment Day as of the last few weeks. So it seems like slowly but surely they're telling that story where they're kind of doing their own thing. Like Rhea's doing her own thing, focusing on being women's champion, which is a different spin on things, I think, with the whole Judgment Day story. Because at one point in time where you see one member of the Judgment Day, you see every member of the Judgment Day. So I feel like it's a good thing for everybody here, but I do think the Judgment Day will stay in the back.
Yeah, I think they'll probably stay in the back as well for this one. I think it makes the most sense. I think that you can always use Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough in the tag team title match, which we'll be discussing later in the stream. But NXSteve didn't waste any time getting straight in this. I thought it was the easiest prediction of the night, Rhea Ripley to actually defeat Nia Jax. Leo, do you have that same prediction in mind?
I do. I think that you got two of the most dominant women in the division right now. I think the spot that they're probably going to be telling is like Rhea hitting that riptide on Nia Jax. I think that's the thing that they're going to be setting up throughout the match. That's the story that they're probably going to be telling throughout the match. But I do think Rhea is going to get that victory. It would kind of suck if they really just hit a whole 180 and just had Nia Jax win. That would piss everybody off.
He would. I don't know if that would go down well, to be fair. But I like that you said with the story of the match there. I mean, especially the idea of like, can Rhea hit that Riptide on Nia Jax? It's a good selling point throughout the match. Though. So I like the psychology that goes in with that. I agree with both of you. I think Rhea Ripley is walking away the champion. They've been discussing on Raw for most of the time that Rhea is going to be the person that the chamber winner will be facing at WrestleMania. It's only Raquel Rodriguez that seems to think that it could be one or the other, to the point that Nia Jax had to take the whole field out on Monday Night Raw just last night. But look, Nia's looked credible onto this role. But the thing is, she's been built up for this pedestal, for this moment, hopefully a main event spot, then to put over the champion, that final hurdle going into WrestleMania. And I think a job well done. And obviously, Nia can still go to something different going into WrestleMania. NXT, what we got?
I wouldn't be surprised if we get, say, if this is the main event, we get the whole like Riptide off the top rope, ring explodes kind of thing finale. Do you know what I mean? You know, they used to do with Brock and Big Show. I'm expecting that with these two. Like, if she manages to get Riptide off the top rope, then we're going to get an imploding ring.
That could be a fun spot just to see to finish off the show as well. But obviously, I would expect this, if it does main event, I expect whoever wins the women's chamber to have the stare down with Rhea Ripley to close the show, just to really solidify that that's your WrestleMania match. And obviously, that's going to be the big one of the big matches of the weekend as well. Leo, anything you'd like to add before we go to the chat?
Not really. I do think, so for some reason, if this does start the show, I think Nia Jax might get involved some way, somehow with the chamber. If it's later in the show, I have a feeling that's going to happen.
I have to wait and see indeed there. Zane says, do we think there'll be any returns or debuts on this show? That's a really good question. I mean, I would love to see an Iconics cameo, but I personally don't see it, actually, if I'm being honest, this time around. Leo?
No, I would love it, but I just don't know if they're going to do it or not.
No. NXTeve, any hunches?
I would love to see Iconics come back. I think it's a great shout. It's one of them cheap pops that they love to do. So I'd be all up for it.
I'd be down for it as well. Even an Emelina return, we had to wait for all that time before she was released last time. But yeah, it's I don't think we're going to be getting any of those at this moment. And Zane does ask as well the question about suggesting Rhea, could she be a champion till WrestleMania 41? And that's a long time away. We've not got through WrestleMania 40 yet. So quick yes or no, NXT. Do you reckon Rhea holds the title for that long?
No, I think there's a certain young lady on that roster called Jade Cargill who inevitably will take that title. I mean, depending on what I'm sure she signed with SmackDown. Yes, no, I'm not too sure.
It seems like she is going to be.
So yeah, and obviously we'll have the draft since then. So you know what I mean. I think she'll. Well, like I said, my only prediction is she'll retain through Mania, but anything can change between now and then.
Absolutely. If you had to say yes or no now, do you reckon that Rhea could move all the way to WrestleMania 41?
I don't think so. I feel like if you were to drag it up past Mania, as long as she's champion, I can see her holding it maybe at the latest SummerSlam.
The thing is, for me, it's like, of course, it's possible. Rhea's been booked that strongly, but at this particular moment, it just seems so long away. And I feel like, although Triple H loves his long title reigns, we've seen it with Guns, we've seen it with Roman, we've seen it with some other champions, but it feels like a very long time to the future. I would hate to personally see it because I don't want fans to turn on Rhea at this moment, although I do think a babyface run could be in her future. Like, say, the big cheers that are coming here, she's sort of been booked as the babyface in this program the whole way through, so let's see what goes down. But we're going to move on in the meantime into the next match. Obviously, we think Rhea Ripley is retaining, so who will be her opponent at WrestleMania? We're going to decide in the women's elimination chamber match. We've got Naomi, Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Tiffany Stratton, and a returning Raquel Rodriguez, who won the last chance battle royal on Monday Night Raw. And of course, that was a name that I don't think many people predicted to make a return there, but it's great to see Raquel back after so long. And I think she could play a pivotal part actually in this chamber match. I'm actually quite excited. I have a bit of fantasy booking to share later on. But first off, Leo, I want to get your thoughts with the chamber match. I think obviously 5 baby faces, only 1 heel. What do you reckon of the dynamic of this chamber match? Does it work for you?
I feel like it does. When you look at it, you have like a lot of, established talent and Becky and, Bianca, and you have some up and coming talent who are still looking to make names for themselves and could definitely, use a win to further establish themselves in the women's division. You look at Naomi, she's coming back, wanting to find her footing. You got Tiffany Stratton looking to make a name for herself, and what better way to make a name for herself than winning a chamber and going on to become champion possibly. You got Liv Morgan, who's coming back for some Rumble, and she has her story built in with Rhea, and she kind of had her own dynamic, which she said last night. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. I feel like when you look at it, it's gonna only come down to Becky and Liv to be the winners for this match potentially.
I mean, it certainly seem like two favorites this particular one because they have the most, bad blood,
Yeah,
if you will, with Rhea Ripley. I mean, there was a stare down with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair after WrestleMania last year before they got split up in the draft, and they've not been seen since. There is a chance that they can now be reunited for a WrestleMania match this year, and that would be a big time feel as well, Belair versus Rhea. But we've all said we think this is going to be fairly a predictable outcome. But NXT, what are your thoughts here with the dynamic here with this women's chamber match? Are you liking the competitors in it? Obviously, Leo's put some great arguments forward there.
As much as I would love to have seen Chelsea Green in place of Raquel Rodriguez, I think they've all got a role to play in this match. Like Raquel is the powerhouse. Tiffany and Liv, or Tiffany's more, and Tiffany and Naomi are kind of like the more aerial, the suited people that were not willing, they're willing to do stuff off top ropes. Liv's the ballsy one who's like not willing to, like not afraid to do anything crazy. Same as Becky, and then Bianca again is kind of on the powerhouse. It's a very evenly stacked match, I would think. Like when it comes in terms of like just like there's no. Well, you know what I mean? When you see like some matches and you just like, it's a same sort of technician versus technician wrestler. There's something for everyone with this one. And it does look like it's going to be a killer match. The outcome though, as much as it's predictable, do you know what I mean? I think there might be a shock in here somewhere. And like, without giving my prediction away, I think we could be looking at a double winner.
Oh, interesting. That's something out of field that I wasn't expecting there. But I'll tell you what, I'll kick things off with this one because I mean, I'm the one that said I think it's that predictable. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I feel like Becky Lynch has been the only one that's been kind of truly in the mix with Rhea Ripley and with Nia Jax in the last few weeks. Whenever those two have been interacting, Becky Lynch has always been there. We've had to wait for Liv Morgan to qualify. Then obviously she came out on Raw last night. Obviously, we've had the women on SmackDown have not been involved with it either. Raquel Rodriguez has been missing. So it feels like it comes down to Becky and Liv, kind of like what Leo said. Although I do think, if I had to predict, I think Becky and Bianca are going to be the final two. And here's my reasoning why. I think that Becky will win the match, but I think that there's going to be something with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I think that's why Raquel is back and why she's got this spot, because those two are women's tag team champions. And Liv highlighted that on Raw last night. And funnily enough, during that, when she was pouring her heart out, saying that she's going to come back and have this revenge and redemption story, who interrupted her? A tag team partner, Raquel Rodriguez, because of course it's all about WrestleMania. It's all about, individual goals when it comes to this point. But when neither of them get the job done, I think there could be just something of a miscommunication, one slightly costing the other, whether they mean to or not. I think they'll work together at portions of this chamber match, but I think there'll come a moment where Liv Morgan will end up being eliminated, and I think it'll be of the result of Raquel Rodriguez, whether it's an actual pinfall or whether it's something that's accidentally happened that cost the match. I think those two will then be on side going into WrestleMania. Think about the Kabuki Warriors, for example, going to need some challenges for those women's tag team titles. I think there'll be multiple teams potentially going for it. I think Liv and Raquel will be one of the teams that do it, and I think at WrestleMania 40, if I had to predict at this moment, I think that we're going to see a little bit of friction coming on with Liv, with the fact she doesn't get to go for Rhea Ripley, the redemption story she wants. And this isn't the story she wanted to finish at WrestleMania, and she doesn't want to be a women's tag team champion again. So I think she's going to turn on Raquel Rodriguez, solidifying a heel turn and going into the start of a new wrestling year, rivaling Raquel Rodriguez. And I mentioned earlier, Rhea Ripley is starting to seem like a babyface going forward when you look at the program of Nia Jax. I wouldn't be surprised if fans start buying into it, because Becky has respect for Rhea Ripley as well. It's not necessarily going to have to be this face versus heel dynamic going in. It seems to be just a respect factor. So we could, in theory, go, say, through Backlash, through Paris, or perhaps even later, we could get a babyface Rhea Ripley away from Judgment Day, or however they want to do it, against the heel Liv Morgan. So that's what I think will be the long-term plan for Liv Morgan, if I had to predict at this particular moment. But what I will say is I think that Becky Lynch will pick up, and I think Bianca Belair will be the runner-up. So I'm going to pass over to Leo. Leo, I've been talking far too long. So Leo, give us your thoughts on the match, and then give us your prediction, please, of how it's going to all play out.
I still stand by what I said. I do think Bianca, she's gonna have a great match, a great showing in this match, but I don't think she's gonna win. I think she's just in there to kind of be more like the veteran, like she's won it before. Um, I do think, me personally, I think maybe her and Jade Cargill maybe team up and have them go after the Kabuki Warriors for the tag title. I think that would be a great way to bring her in, because I don't know how far she is as far as her progression as a single star, But if you want her to be at Mania and have something interesting, you can have them become tag team champions and then build towards a potential feud, maybe down the line at SummerSlam or even next year's WrestleMania even. Like, imagine if Jade Cargill won the Rumble next year and have her face Bianca and she becomes champion. That'd be a great long-term booking story. Becky, I think would be, I don't know how I feel about her winning. I feel like if you really think about it, Charlotte, she was champion last year and Rhea faced her and became champion. And we just had, Bayley win the Rumble. It seems like in the span of a year, we're pretty much seeing 3 of the 4 horsewomen in the main event almost, in a sense. I just don't feel like there's a story between her and Rhea. I feel like, yes, they've had their stare-offs, but I don't really think you can call that a story if you just had a bunch of stare-offs over the past few months to a year. I don't think that story is there. I think if you really think about their interactions, yeah, they have been somewhat interesting, I would say. But I think if you really think about it, her only story there is like she just wants to prove that she is still relevant when there's no need to prove that. We know who Becky Lynch is. She's won the Rumble. She's main event of WrestleMania. She's won the NXT Women's Championship. She's won the Tag Team title. She's won the Raw Women's Championship. She's won the SmackDown Women's Championship. She's pretty much done just about everything that there is to do as a singles competitor and as a tag team specialist in the women's division. I think this is a situation where she could be, and I think even when you said going back earlier with Raquel, I think maybe she can play gatekeeper in this match. I think she can be used as a gatekeeper for Liv, because Liv's whole story since coming back is she wants Rhea. She's been made very clear after Royal Rumble. She didn't come back to be second place. She came back to finish her story. And I feel like that's the whole thing of WrestleMania. Is finishing your story. And me personally, I got to go Liv Morgan on this one. I think they're going to do a shock at this pay-per-view. Everybody, is talking about Becky. I feel like they're going to pull a swerve here. And I think if they're going to do it, I think Liv Morgan gets the win here.
I mean, I don't hate it. If Liv wins, I don't hate it. I've seen the comment here that Steve doesn't want Liv to finish the story. I wouldn't hate it if Liv won. I would say that I wouldn't hate if hardly any of most of those women won, to be fair. I think I'd be quite happy with the match we'd get. And if Becky doesn't win it, then she can go and finish this story thing is getting overused,
with
isn't
Nia.
it? With Nia, exactly. So
That's
there is
her
something
feud.
open. So there is something there if Becky doesn't win the match. But NXSteve, let's get you on the act here. Thoughts with everything that we've said, and obviously then go into the prediction for the chamber for you.
It's funny because both of you have picked a completely different person, and I'm going to pick both of them people to win because for me, if you look at the dynamic of this match alone, who do you have as the last two that someone has to lose? Tiffany Stratton is too easy of a choice to have in your final two because it gives away, I think, the finish of the match. If you know it's Becky and Tiffany or Liv and Tiffany, same sort of thing. I reckon we get something like Becky and Liv as final two. We get a double pinfall. They pin each other somehow or make each other tap out. And then we have a three-way at WrestleMania, which is where I think we then get the heel turn from Liv, the face turn from Rhea, and, Becky's in there as well because obviously Becky's the man. So yeah, I'm going to go with two winners because I think it's too hard to choose one.
To be fair,
that would be interesting.
It would be interesting. We've never had it before. It's never happened before. And I think Australia would have a few questions. I'm not going to lie with that. But say, for example, you said earlier on, Leo, said it was the opener, Rhea versus Nia. There's a reason for Nia to get in that mix as well there, or someone just to cause a bit of uproar. Even Rhea to come out and say, so am I facing then? It could be an interesting way to go down. So fun dynamics and fun ideas. In fact, very different to what I expected to go down with that one there. So I'm actually quite excited. No, not at all. But that's what makes this fun, is the fact that anything can happen at this particular moment. But Eric did go on to say that if Rhea does keep the belt till 41, she would shatter Bianca's record. She certainly would indeed. And we're going to go and keep things on topic, by the way, with matches and stuff like that. Anything that we miss, we can come back to towards the end of the video. But Eric says that it should have been Indy with her being an Aussie. It would have been nice to see Indy in there. It was the prediction I had going in for Raw last night. But as soon as you saw Raquel come through the curtain, you knew it wasn't going to be. And
I don't know. It was. I thought honestly it was going to be Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? At that one point, just that slight sliver of hope, and my dreams were shattered.
Chelsea would have been amazing in that chamber as well. She's just the coward person that would not let the pod open. Do you know what I mean? She's one of those which have been really
Yeah.
great for it. But hey, it is what it is. Zane asked what time the chamber starts for us at 11 a.m. for me, 10 a.m. for NXSteve, and of course for Leo, the poor sausage, 4 a.m. That's not a good time to start a pay-per-view. I'm not going to lie.
No. There's no poor Leo. Leo's got to deal with it once in a lifetime, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Poor Leo.
He said we have the best fans in the world. He all of a sudden gets my sympathy. That's as straight up as that. That's where it comes down to. So, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it's all going to go down. But quickly going to go through some more of the comments here. Going to have Becky win here. Thank you for your comment there, Yon there. But yeah, so we'll move on in the meantime because we've got a couple of more matches to go through, and if there are some other questions that come through, then we can take them later on. So let's go with our next match then that we'll be talking about, and this one is for the Tag Team Championships. It's going to be the Judgment Day members, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, going then against Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, the new Catch Republic, which is the brand new tag team name for this group. And hey, look, they won basically a series to get this opportunity because it was a fatal four-way on Raw, a fatal four-way on SmackDown. Of course, the new Catch Republic winning their match on SmackDown, DIY won their match on Raw. So we had new Catch Republic against DIY, and of course, Bate and Dunne picking up the victory, getting this opportunity. Feels like the Commonwealth are getting a shout for a championship in Australia. Leo, I'm going to start this with you. Are you looking forward to Judgment Day versus Bate and Dunne for the Tag Team Championships?
Absolutely. Like you have two hungry young guys and Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Like you think about like their history going back to NXT UK, them being the ground bearers for NXT UK when they had that whole tournament. I didn't know who Pete Dunne or Tyler Bate were, but as soon as I seen that tournament, I became a fan of both of these guys. And seeing how far they've come, I'm glad to see Pete Dunne is no longer called Butch. I'm so glad they got rid of that because I was calling him Pete Dunne regardless. But I do think this is going to be a hard-hitting match. You got Finn Balor in there. I really feel like I would love to see Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne win these championships because I want to see a tag team title change. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to hold off for a title change for the tag titles until Mania. Because I feel like the story that they've been telling on Raw over the last couple of weeks is having Awesome Truth come together and have them face Judgment Day for the tag titles.
It could be that direction. R-Truth has been in the mix for a long time now, hasn't he? And obviously isn't going away despite multiple beatings. So I can see your argument there. But obviously, I agree with you as well. Pete Dunne, I mean, when he was named Butch, I mean, you could say it was Butcher, to be honest. When it comes to that, but at the same time, bad joke, wasn't it? But at the same time, I do feel that it's great to see these guys get the opportunity. They've not been on PLE for a long time as well. I can't remember I don't know if it's Bate, they said may have been on SummerSlam last year. Pete Dunne was when he was a part of the Brawling Brutes, probably against Imperium. So long time since these guys have been involved on a PLE. So great to see him get a chance here. But I kind of feel the same as Leo. I'm not going to waste much time on it. As much as I think it could be a fun tag team match, the story there is with Awesome Truth. I again can see there being like a multi-team at WrestleMania for those tag team titles. I can see it being perhaps the likes of maybe DIY still being involved as well, as they're still in the mix with Judgment Day at the moment with the 8-man tag team match last night. And to be fair, you could throw another tag team in the mix, whether it's someone from SmackDown, whether it's Pretty Deadly, or you keep it with the Creed brothers from Raw, for example. There are other teams that could go into the mix here with Judgment Day. Just keep this tag team turmoil. But I agree with you. Awesome Truth, I think, will be leaving WrestleMania as your tag team champions, which for me means Judgment Day need to retain here. And I think the Dominic Mysterio or Nick and Tom, whichever you want to prefer, or Tom and Nick, should I say Mysterio, and JD McDonough probably will be around a ringside as well for this one. But NXSteve, what are your thoughts with this tag team match? You were hoping for new tag team champions. But do you predict it? That's the big question. What's your thoughts with this match?
Do you know what? I think I'm going to be the outcast here and say, yeah, I'm going to go with new tag team champions. I mean, who'd have thunk it, that R-Truth would be the downfall of the Judgment Day, where the brickwork starts to fall and the walls come crumbling down, and it's all because of R-Truth. But I think these guys have scraped through so many title defenses now that I think we need a title change. Maybe even R-Truth is the reason why they lose these titles this weekend. But I'm just going to be hopeful and go for new tag team champions.
I like hopeful because I do feel it's time for a change of this tag team championships. And I have felt on the build to WrestleMania for, we can go back about 3 or 4 months of the prediction videos far out from WrestleMania. You sense the friction with Judgment Day. And I thought we were going to get Finn Balor versus Damian Priest at WrestleMania, potentially with the other Judgment Day members in a sort of multi-man match as well. And obviously that's not materialized. They all seem to be back on the same page now at this moment in time. So it kind of feels like at the moment I don't see the match happening. But if they were to lose it at the cost of R-Truth, maybe that could lead to something further down the line. But it can be hope there, but I still, unfortunately, not swayed. I think the Judgment Day will be retaining. Roger, very happy, by the way, that Pete Dunne's got his name back. Hated the name Butch. And of course, would love to see the new Catch Republic win those tag team titles as well. Richard hoping pretty deadly get involved, but predicts for a Judgment Day win as well. So that's pretty much the thoughts there on the tag team title match. So we will move on in the meantime. And this next thing we're going to talk about isn't a match. In fact, it's the Grayson Waller effect. That's right. Special guests Cody, Rhodes, the American Nightmare, and Seth Freakin Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion. Oh, I wonder why they put this on the show. To be fair, Grayson Waller, obviously, he's a great talker. He's Australian, so let's be honest, it only seems to be fair to have a Grayson Waller effect on this show. And apparently, according to Raw commentary, that maybe the Bloodline have got in Grayson's ear to set this up. I am wondering if this is going to be either the challenge or the acceptance of a WrestleMania tag team match of Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins going against The Rock and Roman Reigns. Of course, that could be perhaps your night one main event of WrestleMania. Seems to be what seems to be the popular consensus among X and people on there at the moment. And obviously, Cody and Roman could be then the main event of night 2, and Seth can defend his title against the winner of the men's chamber on night 2 of Mania as well. I mean, this could also break down into a tag team match as well. Obviously, if Austin Theory makes the travel, if Seth is good to go, maybe a bit of smack and a bit of talk, they could do something like that as well. We could get an extra match on the shows when they have 4 matches at present. Cody and Seth then could pick up a W. How do you see it going down, NXT, with this? Is it one of those 2 things or both potentially?
I mean, the hometown guy, is he really going to be putting his backside in his hometown with Cody and Seth? So I think this is going to turn into a brawl. I think it is going to be like Jimmy and Solo get involved and we just end up with a fight somehow, because I can't see Cody and Seth getting booed out the building by putting Grayson Waller on his backside. I mean, hey, I don't know. Like, I can't imagine Grayson Waller be the kind of guy that's booked to turn his own fans against him, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I think we're going to get some sort of interference from the Bloodline and, I don't know, set in place something towards that main event on night 1, if that's the plan.
I actually can see Grayson Waller doing that. Grayson Waller is quite talented on the mic. He can be obnoxious at the best of times. Leo, how do you see it going down with the Grayson Waller effect then this Saturday?
I could see, some interference with Jimmy and Jay. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised with how everything kind of played up. We had that little video of Roman and Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman was asking, Roman was asking Paul, do I have to be a Perth? And he was like, no. And he said, but he did say that Cody and Seth were going to be there. And he said, all I want to know is they're going to be acknowledging me. I can see a situation, if they're not there in person, you could have like a via satellite type of segment, and you have Roman and Cody there. And then, after they're getting jumped, and then they'll be like, we challenge you to a tag team match at WrestleMania. I could see a situation where that happens if they're not going to be there in person, because I don't think they're going to be there in person. So I think that's the next best thing you could do to possibly set up that match.
I love that idea. I love the idea of the video to make the challenge for the match as well, especially because if it's to believe the Australian people that put this show and got this show to be in Perth wanted The Rock there, this is a way that if he's going to be there without actually being there in person, to see him on the screen is still going to get a big pop or a big reaction from the people and from the crowd there, because he's a part of WWE. So it would be pretty special to see something like that go down. So I quite like that idea a lot. And like you say, NXT as well, if the Bloodline are there, the other members, the NWOB squad, as they if we're going to go use a 90s reference, if they're going to be there, that could be kind of a fun way as well, because they made their presence felt on Monday Night Raw this past week as well, obviously costing Cody a match, the first time he's been pinned, I believe, since WrestleMania last year. I can't remember what happened with Brock. I believe he passed out with Brock in Night of Champions. It was actually the 3rd time that Cody's lost a singles match in WWE. But I think that WWE are looking to blur that line going forward, and I suppose maybe can't blame for doing so. But at the same time, it's going to be interesting to see what goes down. But if there is a tag team match that's built, regardless whether it's a Waller or a Theory, or whether it's a Solo and Jimmy, that would be quite fun to see. But I imagine Cody and Seth will pick up the W if that's something like that was to happen.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Leo?
I also imagine so. I would agree.
Absolutely. Eric says, wait, Endo had a B squad. I don't remember them. Just watch 1999 on the network. It's as simple as that. Or Peacock, depending on where you are from. But we will move on in the meantime, ladies and gents, because we've got one more match to talk about. 36 minutes into the stream, we're already on to that main event. How interesting to see. And of course, Seth Freakin Rollins needs a challenger for WrestleMania. So let's put people through an Elimination Chamber match. We've got Kevin Owens, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, and the United States champion, Logan Paul. Let's be fair, quite a star-studded lineup there when it comes to the men's Elimination Chamber match. NXTeve, I'm going to start with you. Thoughts of this chamber? How is it looking for you? We've all said star-studded, but I mean, there's a potentially good couple of winners that could come out of this match.
There is, but I mean, for the fact that Logan Paul's in this alone, it weirds me to say it, but I'm kind of excited for, because Logan Paul is the kind of guy that he's willing to take a risk, and you put him inside a chamber, do you know what I mean? He's the kind of guy that I can imagine will climb to the top of the chamber cage and just drop down on top of everyone kind of thing. And I'm expecting this to just be crazy. I'm expecting Bobby Lashley to either put someone through a pod or go through a pod himself, as long as it's not bulletproof, because, that's how they booked it previously. Randy Orton, that grizzled old veteran, do you know what I mean? He's got a grudge to try and fulfill, and he wants to become a 15 times champion or 16 time champion now? I forget how many numbers he's on now. Drew McIntyre, the guy that's, is he leaving? Isn't he leaving? Has he signed a new contract? Who knows? And LA Knight, the crowd favorite for the last year, that's kind of sort of dimmered down in the last couple of months, but will still probably get one hell of a reaction coming into this match. But yeah, like I say, it's looking good. It's just a case of, how can I forget Kevin Owens, obviously one of my favorites. Do you know what I mean? The guy that deserves to be on the top of the card every match, every show, every night.
Absolutely, yeah. You've summed that up pretty well, really. It's not much for me to add there. Leo, is there anything you'd like to add of this star-studded lineup we have here of the Elimination Chamber?
I mean, when you look at it, you got Randy, you got Bobby, Drew, and KO, former world champions in their own right. You got Logan Paul, an up-and-comer. You got LA Knight, like NXSteve said. I mean, he's kind of having his up and downs over the last couple of months, but he's still found some way to make himself relevant throughout it. So I think he's going to have a great showing as well.
Yeah, I really do as well. Then obviously it's an exciting looking matchup with this one. I think there's going to be some storylines that are going to actually play out throughout the match. It's not just going to set up Seth's opponent for WrestleMania. I think for other people as well when you look at this lineup. But I've given a couple of predictions first when it comes to this, so I'm actually going to hold back. I'm going to go later. So I'm going to start with Leo on this one. How you see things playing out here with the Elimination Chamber, whether it involves other matches or simply a straight up winner. How do you see it playing out?
I mean, as far as KO goes, I don't see him winning. Me personally, I feel Dominic should have been in this spot. I really wish Dominic would have qualified, because I think him and Logan, just being the two heels that they are, could have created some type of magic in this type of chamber match. And especially with, you think about it, every member outside of JD and Dominic are competing in an actual match at Elimination Chamber. So I would have loved to see Dominic in here, but Bobby Lashley, he's gonna have a good showing, but I don't think he's gonna get screwed over with Karrion Kross in company, because I feel like they're gonna set things up between them going into Mania. Logan and LA, I really feel like one or the other is going to pin the other opponent. I feel like either Logan eliminates LA Knight, or LA Knight eliminates Logan, and Logan screws over LA Knight, and that sets up things for Mania, because I do think they're going to do Logan Paul and LA Knight for the US Championship. Randy would be a great candidate, just considering he's the only guy on SmackDown right now that really doesn't have a clear-cut path to Mania right now. Only thing I could see him possibly doing is maybe he faces Solo. That's the only thing I could see him doing outside of that. But I mean, him and Seth would have a great match if you really go back with their history, with them being in the Authority together, and not Roman, but Randy broke away after a short period of time. And even the match that they had at WrestleMania 31 was great. The match that they had was great, and I would love to see that match happen again. But with Drew, with this character that he has right now, one of the best characters right now, I mean, you can't bet against Drew right now. I mean, if you really think about it, everything that played up with CM Punk, me personally, I'd say Drew wins this whole thing and wins the title at Mania. Have him hold that championship for a bit and let CM Punk come back in the mix in the lead up to SummerSlam and let that be your match for SummerSlam.
I love it. I love all of that there. NXSteve.
There's not much I can add to that. That is pretty much perfect storytelling, perfect booking. LA Knight and Logan Paul cancel each other and all that with that US title. That's the whole reason these two are probably in this match. Kevin Owens, I'm not too sure what his plans are for Mania. Same with Randy at this minute. Bobby Lashley obviously has the whole storyline going down with I don't even know what his faction's called. What is
Final Testament?
The Final Testament.
Final Testament. Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so he's got that whole thing going. And for me, I think as well with the whole, has he signed? Won't he sign? I'm the same. I'm going with Drew McIntyre winning this. I think that he gets his moment. Exactly the same as Leo. I think he gets his Mania moment. I think he wins as a heel one. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd wanted it to be a face, but I'm going the same way. I think Drew wins this, and he gets his match against Seth night 2. Seth's going to be obviously all battered and bruised from night 1 with his tag team match with Cody, and it's going to be the reason why he loses.
There you go. These guys have summed this up pretty darn well. What can I add to this if I'm going to say the exact same thing? This is pretty much where we're going with this, because I actually see why I think Kevin Owens was the right call now, although I like your shout with Dominic Mysterio, Leo, because of the fact him and Logan have been sort of powerly on social media before with certain things. I think it could have been kind of fun with them in the chamber together. However, Owens has the beef with Logan Paul with the United States Championship currently. I think there's going to be a way that Owens gets blindsided and Logan Paul eliminates Owens first. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think then we'll find, like you said afterwards, I think LA Knight will eliminate Logan Paul. And I think Logan Paul then will cost LA Knight his spot. And I think that sets up the WrestleMania match. Whoever pins Logan Paul in this match gets the United States Championship match at WrestleMania. And I think LA Knight could be the one. I mean, we have to keep an eye out because LA Knight does have a program with AJ Styles going on at the same time as well. Could they build something like that for Mania and actually just do something with Owens and Logan? Time will tell. C Nation Dog mentioned that yesterday on a stream that was doing on the channel. I actually thought it was a great point that was made. But I do think the chamber is what's going to set up LA Knight versus Logan Paul. It seems perfect that these two are in this chamber match. I think it's a way to eliminate Kevin Owens out of the picture as well. They can do a match on SmackDown. Now Logan Paul is now actually competing on SmackDowns as he qualified for the chamber match against The Miz just recently. They could do Owens versus Logan Paul one more time on the build to WrestleMania, and then it could be a clear pathway for Logan Paul versus LA Knight. Looking at it elsewhere, then obviously, like you said, Bobby Lashley, Final Testament. Randy Orton is a great runner-up for this match, and certainly, and like you said, with the chemistry with him and Seth Rollins, that's an amazing throwback there to WrestleMania 31, one of the best RKOs ever. But look, this is Drew McIntyre's moment to steal, isn't it? Because CM Punk is supposed to have that WrestleMania match, was supposed to win this chamber, was supposed to be against Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre can rub it in his face. I've took your moment, I've took your spot, and then I took your title. It's easy storytelling to do. That everyone's been saying, has Drew resigned? Has he not? I've said for a long time. The guy was on the Bash to Berlin post that was posted out like at the start of this year or end of last year. I don't think Drew's going anywhere. I feel confident all along. I don't think Drew's going anywhere. I think he's staying put. And personally, I think with the direction of the character they've had now, I think it would be silly for WWE to let him go. And I think it would be silly for Drew to leave. I think Drew is in the position he wants to be. And I think certainly a World Heavyweight Championship match has fallen on his lap through the injury to CM Punk. And potentially, like you say, he could go on to get not finish his story, but a redemption of his story. Like I say, it doesn't get to be a babyface NXT. You're right there. But you know what? Sometimes the heels just have more fun. And do you know what? Drew has been having a lot of fun on WTV recently, and it has been great to see. Guys,
let's be honest. Putting Drew on TV so much is not the thing you do for a business. If his contract is about to expire, you would keep this guy off TV and he wouldn't be anywhere. And then when his contract expires, he just goes on his merry way. They've been plastering this guy all over it. They released a brand new T-shirt that was top of the merch store, for God's sake. So yeah, there's no way that guy's going anywhere at the minute.
No, I don't think he is either. Leo, any final thoughts before we go into the comments section?
No, I just still think it's going to be a good show. I think one thing I did forget to mention when we were talking about the women's is I actually looked at this. In fact, this is Liv Morgan's 5th time in the Elimination Chamber coming up.
Yeah, she's the most
fifth chance
experienced.
to win it.
Yep.
She's got to do it one time, hasn't she? It's Becky's first as well, which is a big shock as well going to this. And it's funny you mention the women's there, because actually just before we go into the chat, I like to do this, and we just go around quickly around the circle and just predict it very quickly. Who is going to start the chamber match off? Numbers 1 and 2, not in the pods. NXTeve, I'll go with you first. Who in the women's chamber match is kicking things off?
Raquel and Tiffany.
Nice. Leo?
I say Becky and Bianca.
I agree with Leo. The reason I think that is because, as I said, I think they'll be the final two, and I think that unlike the men's, I think that if you're going to have someone may win later in the night, with Drew, for example, could come in later in the men's, I think it makes sense for the women's that they go the whole distance. So I think Becky could start with Bianca, Tiffany in third, and you can do, for example, what you want, Naomi fourth, maybe Raquel fifth, and Liv Morgan sixth or something like that. So at least Liv can get to like the final four, final three in the match dynamic as well there. But so into the men's then. Actually, before we do, who comes out last? I just said Liv Morgan there, so let's go who will come out last in the chamber. Who has the biggest advantage, NXTeve?
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you and say Liv Morgan. I think Liv comes out last.
Leo?
Yeah, I say Liv Morgan too, just because of the simple fact that every chamber she has, she's always coming in first. So, yeah, she always comes in first. She's literally the first one to start every time. So, I mean, why not?
That's a bad luck in the draw.
This is why she's not won one yet. This might be her hope here. We were putting it in the air there, Liv. You're going to come in last this year. It's finally your time to at least get towards the end of this match. But for the men then, how do we see this kicking off then? Who is going to start this match? Leo, I'm going to start with you this time.
I say LA Knight and Logan Paul start the match.
NXT?
Yeah, I'd go with that. That's the
triple threat. We all agree here. I think it's going to be Logan and LA Knight kicking things off. It would be interesting with KO as well, but I think LA Knight as well will kick it off with Logan Paul. And how do we see this finishing, Leo? Who's coming in last?
Ooh. I say Drew. Drew comes in last.
I'm going to say Randy, that grizzled veteran. You know, he needs to. He's not as young as he used to be, man. He needs to come out last. You know.
It's one or the other. It is one or the other. I'm going to go Drew just for the heel shenanigans of the new character that we've got of Drew McIntyre. Will take advantage of coming in last and winning the match. I think Randy will come in fifth. I wouldn't be surprised if we have Owens third and Bobby Lashley fourth with the lineup there that we've given. But let's go into the chat nonetheless. We're pretty much wrapped up a lot of our thoughts there at this moment when it comes to Elimination Chamber. So let's see what people say. Tino's time in house. Tino, great to have you here as always. And also Richard says that it believes Drew McIntyre deserves to win. He reckons that Logan Paul and KO will be the first eliminations there for us. Like it indeed. Roger asking, are we happy with the WWE 2K24 wrestler ratings? Personally, not in a horrible way, Roger. I couldn't care really who gets what rating. It's same with FIFA. I know a lot of the talent themselves matter, but I'm not too bothered. I'll play the superstars just as they are. It doesn't affect me. Leo?
I mean, some of them were kind of questionable, I guess. Some of them being like a low rating. I was kind of confused, but that's why I get the deluxe edition, because if I feel like they're too low, I'm going to bump them up a little bit. So it's not really a big deal for me.
I personally don't think they should have ratings in a wrestling game. I think it should be a case of, because let's be honest, for the guys out there that do these kind of things, and they sim the matches and all this kind of stuff, when you've got a 99 Roman Reigns going up against like a 75 Chad Gable, and it's like, I think if you take away the ratings, there's a chance Chad Gable could actually beat Roman Reigns. So I'd just say get rid of it all.
There you go. Zane asking a random question for us as well here. Would you like to see a real wrestling match where you don't know who would win? No, not really. I think that's why they call it UFC for me. NXTeve?
I think it's more the fact that I'm more drawn to characters than I am the wrestling. I think the characters draw me in, and then the wrestling is, do you know what I mean? It's almost like a dance, really, isn't it? Like it's just it's one part of the story that they have to tell. So for me, it's more like, dude, Ultimate Warrior is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and he's not a great wrestler. He's a great character, just not a great wrestler.
There you go. There we go. And Tino's had his say on the ratings, by the way. Says Liv is a 67.
Shut
Don't come
up.
for me.
That's fake.
That's definitely fake there. Xavier Woods knows the truth, and we'll be giving away some of the more ratings later on this week. But going through some of the other questions, and would we like to see Charlotte Flair be Andrade's manager? I guess while she's injured. I don't need it per se. I think Andrade's doing his thing currently on his own. They've got the Idolo character in WWE as well. I think he's going to be just fine in NXSteve.
Yeah, I reckon it'd be all right. It's just, like I said, I'm starting to get worried now that all these rosters are starting to get stacked and they've got nothing for him to do. Like, you've brought Andrade back and it's kind of like, what is he going to do? Like, yes, he's going to win matches, but I don't know. This is my biggest worry is just massive rosters at the minute.
Leo?
I mean, I agree, but I can see with everything playing out. I think with Gunther kind of running out of opponents, give Andrade an opportunity at Gunther. I think they can have some great magic, and who knows, maybe have Andrade be the one to take that IC belt.
I'm not against that idea. I'm not against it.
Chad Gable. Should always be Chad Gable.
I won't mind it.
We'll have to wait and see. Maybe we need Gable versus Andrade at this point. And Richard is a big Zoe Stark fan. So it would be criminal not to have this. WrestleMania match. The question is, who would be her opponent? Leo, if you had to pick for Zoe Stark in a minute, how does she fit into WrestleMania 40, if at all?
If she does go to WrestleMania, I do think she might be a part of Mania. I think they might do similar to what they did last year, is like have like a tag team turmoil match with the tag team titles being on. I think they can do like a multi-women tag team match. I do think her and Shayna will be involved in Mania.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think the women's tag team titles, like I said, I think it'll be a multi-team deal. And I think Zoe and Shayna have proven it. They look like one of the more dominant tag teams currently, especially with the Battle Royal this week, actually being on each other's side. So yeah, I can see that going down as well, of them being involved in that way. NXSteve, how do you see Zoe being involved, if at all, at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I think that's what the plan they'll go with. It's just a way to get as many people on the show as possible. Like, I would hate to think that they just do a battle royal and it's that again, because it's kind of we're a bit oversaturated with battle royals at the minute and we need something fresh. So try and go with something else.
Absolutely, indeed. Last question here from Zane. Are any of you buying the 40 years of WrestleMania version for 2K24? Leo, start with you.
No, I brought the deluxe edition.
I would probably be tempted with deluxe as well. NXSteve?
The bog standard one for me because I'm a tight ass.
There you go. There we go.
That's one thing I actually forgot to ask you guys. There is one guy that's not on this show that I have a feeling could actually take a part in it, and that's one Bronson Reed. Do you reckon we could get a Bronson Reed taking someone out of the chamber a la Edge all those years ago? For instance, if he takes out a Kevin Owens and puts himself in the chamber instead of KO.
I like that idea. I'd like it to be Bobby Lashley if it was the case, because I think Bobby versus Bronson would be a great WrestleMania match. I'd like to see that as a match potentially. That way you can get Bronson on SmackDown. And you can have Wade call the Tsunami again as well. Could be a fun way. Randy Orton, you can't take him out of the chamber, but would be a fun opponent as well. But Leo, how do you see it?
If they were to do something like this, I know he's been gone for a while. I think at some point you got to bring him back. I say Sheamus. Just imagine if Sheamus were to come back and pull something off like that. I mean, Sheamus is one of the purest wrestlers that you have right now. I mean, every time you put him in that ring, he is literally putting up great matches. I don't know what the whole thing is, the whole deal is with this injury, what's going on. If it's contract issues, because I know they said his contract might be expiring very, very soon, which is probably why we haven't seen him. But he needs to finish his story and get that IC title. Him and Gable need to finish their story and get that IC title.
They do indeed. Unfortunately, can't do it at the same time, unfortunately. But last thing I'll just say quickly on this, we mentioned Bronson Reed, is that I think he was meant to go against Seth Rollins on this show. He was going for a champion that didn't know he was after them and targeting them. And then funnily, all of a sudden, Seth Rollins got injured and that sort of disappeared. And he's not really been mentioning it much since. He's just gone for the chamber and the qualifying matches. So I mentioned the Grayson Waller effect earlier on. I wouldn't be surprised if Bronson Reed makes an appearance in amongst this. If Seth, for example, said he was good to go and he was now fit and healthy for WrestleMania and he could be involved in the tag team match, I wouldn't be surprised if Bronson came out and maybe tried to make something happen. That could be a placement as well. And then you have two Aussies in the ring at the same time with Grayson and Bronson at the same time. Could be quite fascinating stuff. Would that be something you'd be interested in, Leo?
It could be interesting. I just feel like the only thing is the way things that kind of played out in his backstage promo. It looks like he's going through a babyface turn. So that's my only caveat with that is I think at some point they're going to probably have him turn babyface, which I'm very interested in seeing because I do think he can definitely play that babyface role very well.
Be interesting. NXSteve?
There's no other pay-per-views between this and Mania, is there?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if there was another pay-per-view, I would have probably said yeah, and we get Seth versus Bronson at the next pay-per-view. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's a possibility. Just like you'd think that they'd get him on the show, same as Indy, just every Australian possible. Like it'd be silly not to. Do you know what I mean? Just to absolutely milk the hell out of it.
There you go. There we go, indeed. Well, that's for us then for Elimination Chamber 2024 in Perth, Australia. I want to say a big thank you to our chat. They've been keeping us busy for the last hour or so. I want a big thank you as well to the guys on the chairs next to me as well. NXSteve and Kickin it with Leo as well. Fantastic to have you both on the channel as always. Just say very quickly, Kickin it with Leo is on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure to go and subscribe to his channel. Leo, for those that are unaware of your work, they should be by now. But let them know where they can go and subscribe and follow your fantastic content.
Yeah, so my channel is Kickin with Leo. I do, pretty much daily wrestling content. It's a very busy week with Chambers, so I got a lot of content coming out this week. And I have a 12-hour stream actually happening from Friday until after Chambers. So I will be doing SmackDown. I will be doing No Surrender for TNA, and I will be doing Chamber as well. So I'm doing that and I'm also doing the press conference after. So I'm probably not going to sleep until maybe 2 in the afternoon. So, hey.
Power to you, my friend. Power to you. That is going to be one almighty stream. Give him some support, everybody. He's going to need it for those 12 hours. I'm pretty sure that is a long slog, I can tell you. But NXSteve, a big fan. It's a great pleasure to have you on as always.
Dude, always a pleasure. As for me, I'm going to spend 8 hours in bed Friday night. I'm going to get up, maybe order myself a coffee, just chill out on my sofa, watch Chamber. Not have to worry about thinking, I have to go to bed in 3 hours. No, not this week, not today.
And I will get to enjoy the Chamber on Saturday as well in the daytime. And of course, with a little one, I can enjoy Australia's own The Wiggles and Bounce Patrol to kick off the morning. I can tell you if anyone needs to, you can go and check that out on YouTube now. I can promise you're in for a treat. But that's all from us anyway. Thank you for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and keep an eye out for more videos that we're dropping on the channel this week, including TNA predictions for No Surrender. Take care. All the best. Thank you for watching.